Test, test. All right. Welcome, everybody. Flutter Belgium 26th. And good news, we are with 1,000 members, 1,002. Very good. A bit of a side note, we received an email from Meetup that they will soon remove all the inactive users, so probably we'll go a bit lower. But we had our moment to celebrate. What will bring 2026? In 2025, Koen and Jens created a baby, so it was a bit more work there. But we're good to go to create to do already. We already did a brand update. We can have a sneak peek later. We will change how we will host our events or how we will find speakers, use more tools for that, and we will probably also have some special events this year. Everybody ready for the sneak peek? You saw it? More to come in 2026. Okay, who are we? We started in 2028. I started it, and then Jens and Koen joined the club. You can also, of course, join Meetup, share with your colleagues, so that we can keep the 1,000 number. If you want to become a speaker, so we're probably changing the way how you can say that you want to speak for something. But for now, you can just talk to us on Slack. Just give us a message. We're always looking for speakers. Also, if you want to host the meetup, very welcome tonight at ASEA Group. Very glad we are here. The lightning talks, Robert. He will. Yeah, we will probably switch the order, but anyway, he will do a talk about software craftsmanship, or how is it called?
I thought I said it would be the more boring talk.
Okay. It can change the topic. Okay.
Yeah, maybe it's all about that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. And then Koen will tell something about his package UI playground. And then the full talks, Anton, where is he? Here. Oh, sorry. We'll talk about code push my dad off of GitHub. And then Stan will do a talk about architecture and how to keep it still working with AI, I would say. You can already join the raffle. We will do it after the talks.
And it's this time, because we have new dashes and a big one for the first time as well.
Yeah, it's a big dash. If you missed it, you can also scan here. That also works. Yeah.
There's no raffle. Yeah, well.
No. I thought yes, the previous time we said we put it in the calendar, but it's not there yet. Yeah, of course, very glad we can see this. We can sit here in this wonderful building. And next time is still a bit unclear, but keep you can follow at Meetup or at Slack, of course. First lightning talk. That's good.
Need to switch the sharing.
De meeting, je kunt de meeting ID gebruiken normaal, die code. Ja.
Okay, so you can already see my editor, so that means I will give a demo. Let's see if that goes well. I built it on the train here, and it wasn't working until 30 minutes ago. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. All right. Jens, are we ready? Not yet. All right. So it's been a while since I've given a lightning talk. So I've been building some packages lately, and I wanted to share someone I coded in 1.5 hours with Claude to test something out that I wanted to use myself. There are some alternatives on the market, but not something I really loved, and something that is in the branding that I like for my customers, for myself as well. So it's related to Widgetbook, a component library that you can use to debug, to build your components in an easy way to see how everything works, and have it also branded in the same style as your parent app. So designers and the rest of the product owners are familiar with a similar interface, and having a cleaner UX than Widgetbook, in my opinion. So that's the challenge I set to Cloud Code. I gave it, and it ran for 1.5 hours, and it got the basic framework done. Then I worked on it for 5 hours more, and this is the finished product that I currently have, which is still, of course, ongoing. So who am I? I'm Koen van Loveren. I'm a Flutter developer, freelancer, Flutter Belgium host as well, and I really love open source. So a lot of packages that you see that I've been using or built is mostly done open source. I think gatekeeping what you know is not really good for the community. That's also why I do these talks, do these lightning talks, and the hosting of Flutter Belgium as well. So indeed, we do have a Widgetbook, but there is quite some boilerplate code that you need to write. There are some generators, but most of them are meh, I would say. It's not in line with the rest of your code base, mainly branding, I would say then. And in some cases, you have different theming, you have different localizations, so it's also not the same way it's structured. So that's what I wanted to change, and I wanted something that fits my needs exactly as I needed them. So I built an ecosystem of 3 packages. People who've built generators before look at this pattern and they see, okay, I know how it works, I know what this does. So it's a package that you use in your code first to generate the actual UI, then an annotation library for the generator, and then the generator itself for build runner, which generates the entire boilerplate code for you. So this is my basic setup. I have a UI Playground app that will just run the entire app, and then you can configure different sections and different components as well. In this case, buttons could even be just components and then a list of all your components. You can add another section with your branding, your styles, your text styles, to expand on that as well. So if you would write it manually, it would look something like this. So you have my button item, which has a title and then a variant or different variants. So in this case, it could also be a primary button, secondary button, and different ones. But for a basic example, I still use one variant. So of course, we then need a variant. The variant also has a title, also has a build method, and then the inputs that you need to change some parameters on your button. And then the inputs are then also generated at the bottom. It's a different class again, where you see all the different inputs, and in this case, we only have 2. We have a title and it's enabled. I've not yet added the void callback, which I will do in the demo as well. So what does it look like if you build something like this or use something like this? In my case, it's just fairly basic, very similar to what you would see in Widgetbook, but then in the same design pattern or the same design branding as my other components. Everything is relatable and everything is similar as the other app or the other apps that I built. And then you can actually start debugging your component. You can switch it around. You can change the title. You can set it to enabled and disabled. And these are actually just the props that you need for this specific button. But everyone now is thinking, okay, we've written a lot of boilerplate code, so why would I actually use it? So indeed, that's not the whole point of the demo. It's just to show what you can do with it without the generator. So the next part is then to simplify it, and it's generating all the boilerplate code for you. So in the end, it's just adding one basic annotation that is added to your component, and then the rest is all generated for you. So the title gets an input, the Boolean gets a Boolean input, and everything is generated in the templates that I showed you previously. So if we then do that in code, you will see that I have a new button. So the new button now also has an annotation and also has an onTap. So the onTap is a void callback, or it could be any function. I will also maybe add another function later on. But let's see. If you can see, the generator now has no components. So that makes sense, because we currently don't have components. We still need to run build runner, which I have a short function for. It's just running build runner with deleting conflicts outputs, which makes it easier for me to understand. And then, of course, what did I do? Did I break it? I did break it. It's the caching, huh? Yeah, indeed. And this one I should keep. So indeed, now it generates the entire file for you. So it generates all the components that you have in a simple list, so you can use it as well. And then all the different inputs, and also with some comments, so it's easy to read for you. And then if you look at the generation of the onTap, you don't actually just want to get an input for, you just want to show a notification that something happened, the callback or a function was called. So in this case, I just show a notification with the actual parameters of the function. If you would have extra parameters, it would also contain the name of the parameter and then the value of the parameter, which makes it easy to debug, to see if something goes wrong or something changed. And then if we now also update this part, where I just add all the generated components, which is this list, and we restart the playground. I restarted the wrong one. Now we have a second button, which has again the title and the input all generated for me. And then if I tap it, then it will execute the callback as well. So fairly basic, but for me, it's mainly about the automation of the boilerplate code, which in this case, it's just adding one extra line of code, which makes it a lot easier to maintain and also to motivate developers to actually do this part as well. Now to continue, indeed, we now have the annotations and then the generator. So the annotation is indeed just the component annotation, and then the generator is for build runner, and it generates all the items, variants, inputs in just one file. So it's also not something that is adding extra files to the rest of your file system. It also works for external components. So let's say if you have a custom class, you can just build your own input for that, add that to a config, and then it will also just detect that manually, automatically for you as well. There's just one extra part that you need to do for the component generation, which is creating a simple class with an extra annotation, the UI Playground components, which is then the file that is detected to generate the file under to build the entire boilerplate code for you. Okay. And then indeed, which types are supported? So a string, boolean, int, double, enum values, which just gives you an entire list of all the enum values that you have. Different colors, daytime color, also an icon data, so just some random icons that I, for now, just added, but some you can override yourself as well. And then, of course, just the custom inputs that you can write if you have a custom class, which makes it easier. I also added support for defaults, for nullable, non-nullable, and I'm also looking at adding a default for the UI Playground that is not in your Flutter code. So let's say if you have an icon that has a required field for the size, but you want to have a 24 size for the UI Playground, then you want to have an extra annotation for that it generates it automatically. Otherwise, it will be a size 0, which doesn't make sense because you don't see anything. So I think that was it. I think in general, I spent around six or 7 hours building this. And I've been using it in 4 projects already, which makes it a lot easier to just build all the components and start with what you know, and what you see is what you get in the end. Thanks. Any questions? Where is the mic?
Yeah, thanks. Have you looked into the Flutter widget previewer? I think it was last year, a feature that was introduced, which does something similar. I haven't played around with it too much myself, but I recognize a lot of the same concepts.
Yes, indeed. So you also have the widget previewer, which I personally don't really like that much. I really like just having a shared link that I can send to clients, which in my case is just GitHub having an action that pushes this to GitHub pages. And because it's just another Flutter project, you can just ship it with it. It builds in a GitHub action, and then the client gets an automatic notification that the new version is ready to be reviewed. So that's personally one of the main things for me. And I also think it's for me also easier to have one structured way of seeing all your components. Also, if a new developer joins or someone else needs to inspect your UI library, it's also very easy to see which components are there. What I also want to add is having support for documentation. So if you write documentation for your components, it's not only good for you, for your future self, but for your AI agents as well. Having that also in the UI Playground generated makes it easier for proper documentation of your entire library. It's also something that is done in most cases in design systems on Figma, which I think makes sense to also do it for the code that you actually write. So personally, for me, that's what works for me, and I think a lot of people are indeed using the widget previewer, but for me, it's not exactly what I'm looking for. So not sure if someone else has other experience with that, but.
I really like the way of doing annotations. I suppose the issue is with annotations that everything has to be const in them. So if you need to have like a custom wrapper around stuff for certain dependencies, can you deal with this?
So the thing is a little bit with the custom. Let's say, if you need a custom input, then it's not an object that you need to add, but just the type of that specific object. And then, because I know which type it is, I can also generate the correct stuff based from that. So that's how I currently do it, and it actually works quite well. I know William is also doing something for navigation for that, and it also works very, very good to just generate the code that you would never read yourself because it's too much boilerplate code.
Yep.
So
I think Widgetbook knows this. I know, like the next version of Widgetbook has like a generator. I think it's
there are some generators
and
for it.
And it will have documentation support as well.
I will beat him.
And I don't know if you knew, but you can actually provide a different material theme, and that will then actually be applied inside of Widgetbook.
The thing is, I never use material themes myself because I want to have full control over the theme that I built. So that's one of the main reasons that I don't like Widgetbook, because then you have some button somewhere, change theme, and then the client clicks on change theme and it does nothing because you're not using that specific theming setup. So one of the main reasons that I indeed went for something like this. And under the hood, it uses my own UI library, which then can pull everything without generating something else from it as well. So, cool. All right, someone else? Okay, then Robert, I think it's your turn. Yep. And then the code Ik ben er al uit.
All right. So lightning talks are a bit of an experimental playground for me. So since we need lightning talks 15 minutes or half an hour before coming here, I was like, okay, let's put something quickly together. So it might be the most boring talk. Let's see where we end up. But I would like to make it a bit interactive, so if you participate, it would be really good. So who knows Dora? Yes, you have kids?
I was talking in software terms. Yeah, of course I do.
Well, you might think of indeed the Explorer, but it's much better to think of this. My kids, when they were small, I was reading, of course, this one. Now I want to start reading this one. But okay, so where does this go to? Yes, that's still TBD. What TBD? To be determined, yeah. Or to be determined, or it's trunk-based development. Just seeing where we're getting into. Last quiz question is, I love writing unit tests. Am I the only one? Okay. Okay, luckily there are a few, or not unit tests or tests, but okay. So, yeah, where do I want to go to? This is some of the Dora metrics. And they research on, okay, what makes high performance teams. So that's things like deploy frequency, lead time, change failure rate, mean time to recovery. And there are a lot of underlying practices under that. What makes software teams or software crafters really performant? But if we, look at what is the big hype now, AI, then a lot of people are generating things on very rapid pace. So yeah, will we just all run into a big wall on a very high speed, or will we find ways to contain this beast and all channel it to great things? So I just got inspired by some comments and discussions on LinkedIn, so I'm reusing some of the things some of the software crafters are pitching. And one of them is that, okay, there are 4 types emerging a bit in the AI, which is excited executives, which are like, okay, finally I don't need these very difficult IT people anymore. We can just ask, it does what I ask, and it's great results instantly. So they can do their usual mess just a lot faster. Proud skeptics who are very proudly not using it yet, but yeah, I think the big risk for these people is there might be the ones who are left behind. And now I'm wondering if something is going. Oh no, it's appearing in a very different way. Okay, that's just a 15-minute preparation. But anyway, what do we all see in the AI landscape? The overconfident enthusiasts discovered spec-driven development, vibe coding. They declared Agile dead a long time ago, but these people are probably reinventing a waterfall. And then there are also some serious professionals, which it might be a quieter group, but they're really learning AI deeply and mostly integrated in these proven practices. The proven practices were a few of them I mentioned earlier, where you can find a lot of in the DORA reports, which use test-driven development, trunk-based development, theme-driven development. The practices which are proven since decades, so to say, and implemented, and which don't just apply to human programmers, but might also just apply to the silicon versions of programmers, the AIs, and the language learning models. Because in my opinion, AI is just like a very big mirror to the person using it. So yeah, if I look at my own team from juniors to very experienced developers, it magnifies the junior who doesn't have the right insights yet or right methodologies. It also magnifies very much the very experienced and very skilled developers. Then it's an whole other challenge now that I say that, okay, how, because some people say, okay, we don't need the juniors anymore. Well, of course we need them, because how are we else getting to medians and seniors? But the challenge for junior developers is so much different now, because they actually need to become from getting out of the school and suddenly understanding in one go all the architectural principles, etc., and to contain this AI and understand the output and judge the output. But anyway, that's actually a totally different story. So if we say, okay, we need these very experienced people or very experienced teams to really get the right impact out of AI, but maybe as a team, yeah, you don't have these practices. Who's actually doing continuous integration and continuous delivery here? Yeah, and who was doing trunk-based development? What? Trunk-based development. Yeah, so a purist would say if you're not doing trunk-based development, you cannot do CI/CD. So.
Maybe I'm using it, but I don't understand what it is.
Trunk-based development. Yeah, not using feature branches, etc., and not Git flow, but everything in main.
Okay.
Constantly integrate in main.
Yes. Then yes.
Great. So always deployable. Anyway, I got a bit off track. Yeah, so I think software quality. It's been a subject. It's been a theme for a long time already. But now that much more people get access to it, and yeah, much more people can get much more impact by it. I think software quality is becoming even bigger issue or challenge. So when using AI, what is also an alternative? Where do I start with AI? Many person start AI writing code, but you could also approach it differently by automating quality, by making sure, okay, how can I get fast feedback? How can I get to continuous delivery? So how can I get to the skills which makes high-performing teams? And then go to, okay, clarify work in requirements, user stories, acceptance criteria, building all the guardrails for your AI, and then only then get to accelerate your software delivery with the help of AI. So just in summary, yeah, I think AI is really a magnifier of skills of an individual or of a team, and that software crafting skills have been proven like underlying principles under high performance teams. And also what it seems like is that agentic frameworks tend to benefit from these same human skills as well. So then the question becomes like, okay, how can you train your agentic framework or give it the skills or define the different skills in it to behave like the software crafter and implement, for instance, or practice things like TDD and others. So that was it. I got my inspiration from some people I follow on social media. So if you liked it, then it's because of them. If you didn't like it, then I didn't interpret it right. So thank you. Any questions, comments? I don't know.
It's about cloud code. Okay?
Yeah.
In a way, how many of you all are using cloud code? Okay, of those people that are using cloud code, how many are doing something that you mentioned, that is building context files, putting your specifications, this is how Flutter code should be, this is the context of how to write TDD or whatever. How many of you are doing that before you even do one line of code? All right. So that was my question. I'm not, in a way, because I kind of agree with what you're doing. And I wonder if my question is that I've been using it for the past, since August, something like that. And it has been a learning experience just to putting all the TDD and discovering that the TDD is actually limiting cloud code to not do weird stuff, to actually focus on doing the good quality code. And I was wondering, of those people here, how many are doing TDD first and then telling cloud code, okay, do a plan using TDD and then we can implement it? One. I find that very, very useful, and I think we should explore it a little bit more, and maybe we can, if we have a Slack, I think it's something that we can all benefit by doing, starting this talk of
so
how
I think, some guys in the industry are creating really interesting frameworks to contain cloud code or whatsoever, which LLM to work in a certain way. Having indeed a skilled agent on TDD practices, having a skilled agent on other practices, and by orchestrating these in the right way, that indeed they can follow a red-green refactor cycle, etc.
Yeah, one of my biggest complaints about cloud code these days is that the internal knowledge of Flutter is version 2 point something. And so what I end up doing is in a Flutter project, I do a submodule. I get the Flutter thing, all the Flutter GitHub in there, and then I tell it, read this, now modify the plan from what you read. And it updates everything from 2 point whatever to 3 point whatever. Yep. But, how do we automate that a little bit more? Or do we have to do this every time we do a project? Those kind of questions.
I think it could be good to have a discussion afterwards as well.
Indeed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See the spotlight. See the spotlight. All right. So first full talk. It's also our second international speaker. So we're very pleased that you're here today. So Anton will give a talk about Shorebird, I think, in the end. I already see a hint here. So very interesting. I also think it's the first time we actually have a talk on that. I'm not sure how many people are currently using Shorebird already. Not a lot of people. I've played around with it a little bit, but I should be using it more, I guess. And I think everyone should be using it more. And I think Anton will tell everything about it today to us. So take the stage, and thanks for being here today and taking the long journey here. All right, thanks.
All right, thanks for having me. Yes, code pushing my dad off of GitHub. When I did this talk a couple of weeks back in Hamburg and leading up to this, I had some people come up to me and say like, where are the slides? But they... I'm still sharing. So
Yeah, it's going back. Yep, there we are.
there they are.
Nope, there they are. Just stay there.
Yes, come to my side.
Ja. Nee. Ja. Nee.
Can we have an agent fix it?
I saw a site today which is rendahuman.ai, which is a site for AI agents to rent a human to do a task in the real world they can't do. So maybe this is what we'll need.
Let's hope it works.
This.
Nobody move. That's going to be awkward first.
All right. So yeah, code pushing my dad off of GitHub. What the hell is this even about? So before we start, let me introduce you to my dad. So if you were to meet my dad, he would tell you pretty quickly that he has a podcast. And it's like a podcast where he takes a song and then he talks about the song and what that song means to him, and he has like 3 thoughts on it. So it's a song about music, and so for that he wanted for his Instagram account, but then also as like an episode artwork to have like pictures for each episode for each song. And then also pictures with like some quotes on it and reflecting the song so you can get more traffic on this Instagram account. And so back then I thought, okay, I'll write a Flutter app for him, so he can have an easy way to generate these images so that they're always consistent on his account. And I built it as a Flutter macOS app, and that worked all great until I came to the question, how do you actually distribute a one-off macOS app? Before we tackle this, hi, I'm Anton. I'm based in Hamburg. I work at 1,5, we're a climate tech startup. Also, since recently, I'm a GDE for Flutter and Dart. These are my socials if you want to connect afterwards. All right, so back to the question. How do you distribute a one-off macOS app? So what I wanted was to make it easy for my dad. So I wanted to have the classic, you get a DMG, you have the app to drag it to the applications folder, and then ideally not get this dialog. We are not going to talk about this whole process. Just if you're interested, these are the steps you need to follow. But what I actually want to talk about a bit is how do you get this DMG file to your users or your user? Couple of things I explored. So I thought about, okay, I will just email him that DMG. So this DMG comes out of a GitHub action. I will just send him that email. However, that is like a 30 megabyte file, not really cool. I even struggled to get email notifications from GitHub Actions working directly, so I thought, let's not do email. Thought of doing it maybe public, but then again, I actually just want one user, so do I want to go through all the hassle of Apple review, setting up the App Store account? Did not want to do that. I thought about test flight actually, so back when I built this, that must have been like early 2020. Hence also my dad having a lot of time to build or to have a podcast because 2020. And I think TestFlight was just announced for macOS. So that was kind of the issue. It was only just announced. And then again, it's like the 90-day period. Apps can only live on TestFlight, so I thought. And also for public testers, you'll have to go through Apple review. So I thought, okay, let's not do TestFlight. So I came to actually GitHub Actions because I was already building it in GitHub. So I could just do a release with the artifact on GitHub, and that worked out well. Until you realize that when you tell your dad to, just go to GitHub and download the artifact, that does not really work. Like GitHub does not have a good UX if you're not used to the UX of GitHub. And also there's this issue, right? Back like around a year ago or so, I talked with Frey actually about this exact issue that I'm having, that I can't get my dad to really use GitHub to download this artifact. And so Frey was like, why don't you just use Shorebird for this? So I did. So who of you has heard of Shorebird? Who has you, that's almost everybody, that's very good. Who has used Shorebird? That's almost no one. So basically, Shorebird is doing code push for Flutter. What does that mean? Like code push? In a nutshell, it basically means you can it allows you to change your Dart code without having to do a full-on new release. And the cool thing is it's available for all platforms where you have potential limitations in how you can update the app, because so it supports basically all the Flutter targets except for web, because on web you are much more in control which version of the app your users actually get. So in Shorebird, there are three concepts. You kind of have to understand how Shorebird works or what the concept is. So the first thing is a release. So this is, you build your release using the Shorebird app or the Shorebird builder, more or less. And that gives you your release. And then you distribute that release through the App Store, Play Store, or in my case, through GitHub Actions. And then you do something, what is a Shorebird patch, which is to swap out a part of your code that you change, where you fix a bug or you add a new feature. And then you send that patch to Shorebird, and Shorebird will distribute that to the app and then run basically that part of your app interpreted with the new code. So in practice, let's go back to the example of my dad's app. So there's a thing called create Instagram image, and it generates an image with an aspect ratio of 1. Now, if you are on Instagram, you realize that 1 year ago or so, Instagram actually changed the aspect ratio in the feed or the profile grids of people. And for my dad, that was a nightmare. So with Shorebird, we can now do Shorebird patch and basically swap that square aspect ratio out to the new aspect ratio and generate new images. And then with Shorebird, I don't have my dad to go to GitHub to get that new release, but I can just update it straight away. If you're now wondering, okay, yeah, that sounds like a lot of stuff that Shorebird is doing, that must be a lot of work to integrate. It actually is not. So the first step you'll need to do is install the Shorebird CLI. I actually thought that you would just add it from pub, but it's like a relatively long command, so please just go to shorebird.dev and just copy the install command. And then it's Shorebird init that will add all the necessary files that Shorebird needs, adding the secret, setting up the project in the CLI interactively. And then instead of flutter build -- release, you actually just do Shorebird release and then the platform. You can also pass all arguments that you can pass to a flutter build command, like specific environments, flavors, Dart entry points. You can pass all of these commands to the Shorebird release command, and that will build this initial Shorebird release. And then when you want to make a new patch, so because you added a feature or you fixed something, you basically, instead of creating a new release with Flutter release and handing that into the stores, you can just do Shorebird patch, and that will both build the patch as well as uploading it to the Shorebird server to deploy it to the users. And actually, Shorebird, once it's integrated into your app, by default will handle everything automatic. So in the background, it will check, hey, is there a new patch available? It will download that patch. And then the way it works, because it's like quite nested inside of a custom engine fork, you'll have to restart the app. But so Shorebird handles that when your users restarts the app the next time, that patch is automatically applied and your users have this. However, in a lot of scenarios, you may want to have a bit more control over this whole process. And Shorebird offers a package called Shorebird Code Push for this. And so with that, you can easily check, hey, is there an update available? And then if it's outdated, you can say, hey, update, this will give you a new status. And so it will tell you, hey, okay, I've downloaded this, I'm ready to apply this on the next restart, so you can prompt your users to restart your app. So this is exactly what I did. So now when there's a new version available in the artwork generator, I show this nice little snack bar for him to prompt it to restart. And then also finally, since 2 weeks, he's finally on the new Instagram format. So I hope you understood that adding Shorebird is quite easy. It's literally like 3 commands, and then you're it, and they have quite good documentation. I suspect, though, that this specific use case of having a single user macOS app who is also your dad is not really most of your use cases. So I also wanted to talk a bit about, in the second half, about how we use Shorebird at 1.5. So I suspect not a lot of people know about 1.5 here. So we are like a climate tech startup. We do energy installations of like solar, battery, heat pumps, as well as like energy tariffs. And our apps for both our end customers as well as our installers are built with Flutter. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about there is, how do we deal with issues we have in our app? Let's say there is a bug. Ideally, it doesn't happen. But if there's a bug, we have some ways of dealing with this. So the first way is to just have a feature flag to just turn the feature off, because we know there is no broken feature if there's no feature. Another option always is obviously to fix it on the backend, especially if the bug is in the backend, because let's be real, most of the time the bug is actually in the backend. Let the backend fix it. However, obviously this is bad if the bug is actually in the front end and then you asked like a weird workaround in the backend. Also versioning, not so nice. And then obviously there's also the option of creating a new release. But this obviously takes time. You have to, depending on your setup, do quite a lot of manual clicking around to get the actual release, and then you have to make sure that your users actually update. And so we now have Shorbet in the mix as well. And so with Shorbet, it allows us to actually solve the issue inside of the app. So we're solving the issue where it actually happens. We don't have to turn off the feature completely, and we don't have to rely on Apple or Google being quick with pushing the update out. So overall now, basically from merging a PR with a fix to sending it to Shorbet and QAing it and then having it available for our customers, we get down to 30 minutes. I'm not sure in the DORA metric where time to remedy an issue puts that, but I think 30 minutes, we're quite happy with it because it's definitely quicker than asking a backend dev or worse, asking Apple to release your version. So how do we do this? How do we get to this under 30-minute mark? First of all, forgot, the slide is coming as well. For the user, we do the very same concepts I'm doing for my dad, like we'll notify there is something requiring your attention, and then, hey, update the app, restart it, provide the button. As a tip, we looked at a bunch of packages on pubdev that tell you they will quit the app and reopen it. This one looks quite vibe coded, but does the job brilliantly. So terminate, restart. Yes, so how do we make sure that this actually gets to the user? So we develop on main, and we do our commits on main. And then at some point, we do our normal release cycle. So right now, we do them every 2 weeks. And we tag our release with a .0 at the end. And that will then trigger a Shorbet release, and is also the version we hand into Apple and Google as a review. And so then we do our normal work on main, we'll add new features for the next release. We will fix a bug that comes up, which then this commit, we can cherry pick this to our release branch, and we'll tag it with a .1 patch version or increased patch version, which will then do a Shorbet patch, which then automatically our QAs can test, because Shorbet has like tracks which you can use, or which we use, for example, for having a certain track for our QA people, so they can validate that the fix actually does what it's supposed to do. Then we can migrate it to the customer patch, but you could also, for example, have a specific track for like really, really necessary updates the user have to do, and then instead of showing just a simple card, you may just block the whole screen and say, hey, please update the app in order for it to be working. So this is our flow. It is quite simple, I think, and it works really nice. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you can replace every Dart code in your app. So it's not just like any Dart code. And so last year, we extended our business to Sweden. And so you can see like the price, it's euro per kilowatt hour, that's roughly -3 cents this user had per consumed kilowatt hour, so he was actually earning money by consuming energy. But you can see it's just the price, the currency that is in Swedish, everything else is in English, because we actually did not have the Swedish translation and the Swedish app, or the app was not ready in Swedish when we rolled out, but we wanted to roll out. So we rolled out this only in English. But then using Shorbet, we actually added the full support for Swedish and rolled the Swedish support out via Shorbet without having to do the full release, which works because it's just Dart. You can just exchange it. So, as I said, I hope that you got a feel about what you can do with Shorbet, how you can integrate it into your workflows. But I hope that you also took away some other things of this talk. So first of all, make things easy for your users and not for yourself. I think there would have been probably ways to get the app to my dad a lot easier. Maybe I should have gone the email route or just in a Google Drive or whatever. On the other hand, I wouldn't be standing here probably if it weren't for that. Also, explore unconventional tool usage. Like, I've talked with Shorbet about this, and that was not the use case they envisioned when they built the tool, but it works. And so I'm pretty sure there are more tools out there that you can use for different use cases. And then lastly, talk with people about your issues that you're having. So as I mentioned, I talked with Frey about this whole situation, and we came up with, okay, yeah, we can just use Shorbet for this. And I'm sure that when we talk with real people about these things, we can find a solution. So thank you. Once again, these are my socials. Yeah, look at the Shorebird documentation. They recently updated it. There's a lot of stuff there. Also, you can use this code. I'm not getting anything out of this. I think it's just that they know that you came from this talk, and you will also get a month of free from the team and business plan. If you're interested in what we're doing at 1K5, check out our jobs page. We actually have a job opening for Flutter right now. And then if you want to make my dad really, really happy, go check out his podcast. So yeah, thank you.
Can you tell me something more about the limitations of using Shorebird? I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least on iOS, the patches are interpreted and not compiled anymore,
yes,
like,
so
which has some
that
performance
is a
implications.
by both platforms.
Yeah.
So on iOS and Android, it's interpreted code, because that is a requirement that the Play Store and App Store guidelines give you, that like code that gets changed out has to be interpreted. However, in performance, we don't see any differences, and according to Shorebird, like for most use cases, they don't see any performance degradation. So I think that is not an issue. Limitation obviously is as soon as you have like native code that got changed out, like some dependency updates or asset changes also, Shorebird can't properly handle. So once that hits, like, you're out of luck, unfortunately. That's just the limitations that are there. But the Shorebird tool will actually flag this when you try to do a patch and it realizes, hey, there has been changes that we can't actually patch. It will let you know and will prompt you to instead create a regular release and hand in a new version.
Okay, thanks.
Same question.
I had two questions. The first question was pricing-wise. Is it doable with the user base you have for the?
Yes. So we don't have that big of a user base actually, but the pricing is, I think it starts at $20 a month, which gives you, I think, 50,000 patches. So
Okay.
each active user receiving a patch will be. So if you have 10,000 users, you can basically, in that $20 plan, you can do 5 patches a month.
Okay.
And they have a good pricing calculator on their site, so you can basically, based on the amount of users you have and the amount of patches you expect to send out, you can have different, like, you will see how much it will cost. Also, it's worth noting, like, it will depend heavily on how you use it. So we use it more as a last resort. If there's something really broken, then we will do a patch, which will obviously mean less patches over a month. I know that other people are basically only turning it around and only releasing new version to the stores if they actually require it, and otherwise do the full updates through Shorebird. So.
And the second question was, did you ever have issues with patches not going through or not going through to everyone?
No.
So okay.
I mean, as long as your users have internet.
Yeah,
it's fine. And so we probably never know about patches not going through, because when these devices don't send it. But so we basically do the check whether there's a new Shorebird patch. We do it every 15 minutes, I think, because it's like a super low effort, like it's not a big request. And so we basically, even if the user has no internet for a couple of hours, once it's back, we will know.
Very interesting, thanks.
I was wondering if you can do A/B testing and choosing which patch goes to which user.
So not through Shorebird directly. So they have like progressional rollouts. So you can only say, okay, 10% of users should get the new patch. However, what you can do is that, so you have different tracks, and using the Shorebird code push package, you can basically check, is there an update on track A? Is there an update on track B? So you could do the user segmentation through a different tool, Firebase Remote Config, LaunchDarkly, whatever tool you're using. And then based on that, check specific tracks on Shorebird to get the patch. and then do it that way. So it's not directly out of the box with like analysis of the amount, but then that's a whole different project. But like generally to ensure certain users receive a certain patch, you can do through the tracks.
Okay.
I was wondering, so you showed how you can manually update from Shorebird. Do they include restarting your app, or do you also have to do it manually through that terminate package, for example?
Yes, you have to do it manually. So So the updater update actually returns also a Shorebird status enum, and one of the statuses is requires restart, which basically is the status for, okay, I've downloaded it, installed it, and on the next restart the update will get applied. So through that you can figure out, okay, so but Shorebird itself doesn't provide you this.
Okay. So it's actually possible to do an update which doesn't require a restart as well?
No, the update will not take effect. So it's similar to in, I guess, most apps you now have on your macOS at like 3 times a day you get the banner, hey, there's a new version available. And it's the same thing. So it's downloaded and ready to be applied on the next restart, basically.
Thanks.
I was thinking, like, Shorebird, do they give you a dashboard of how many users?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So they give you a dashboard with how many people received the patch.
Okay. But the restart itself, that's something you need to do with another package. They don't give you I think part of the Shorebird update package or code push package can be
restarting?
To restart.
Yeah, so the restarting you have to handle yourself.
Okay.
Just because there's a lot of, like we looked at, I think there are 3 or 4 packages on PubDev saying that they will restart the app. I mean, they all are really good at killing your app. Not a lot of them are reliable also starting your app again, which retention-wise you kind of want. So yeah, and I guess that is kind of why Shorebird chose to not do it themselves, because because out of the box, as I said, Shorebird will not do that and basically do it, once it's restarted, once like the background, because apps get killed a bit, like it. So it's a lot of native code you would have to handle, and they are rather focusing on the core thing, which I think makes sense.
Yeah, indeed.
Right. Thanks a lot for your talk. We still have the famous "you did it" sticker.
Ooh.
Because indeed you did it. So okay, let's take 15 minutes and then we'll come back for the second talk. Thanks. All right. Everyone got a drink, got a seat again. So next talk from Stan, familiar face. I think you've given 4, maybe 5 talks.
One big one.
One big one, but you've been at the meetups quite often indeed. So good to see you as well. Again, interesting topic. I think a lot of people are looking at this as well. The funny talk from Robert, he left maybe already. Also highlights how important it is to keep investigating and don't sit still. We're not losing our job to AI, we're losing our jobs to the people who are using it if you're not using it yourself. So very important topic. Really excited to see what you're talking about. Thanks.
Thanks. Do you hear me? Yes, great. Okay, so in short, I'm Stan. I work at ACA Group. I've been a mobile developer for like 8 years. I think 4 years Flutter, 4 years Xamarin Native in a very distant past. And I'll give a talk about architecture, application architecture in an AI-assisted world. We have a lot of code generation, very cool, but it's maintainability, scalability, everything like that. You get chaos very quickly if we don't keep it in check. Very large disclaimer. It's of course a highly opinionated talk because there's no right way to do it, but it's my idea on how we can keep it a little bit in check and the things you can do about it. The problem, AI, very powerful. You ask it the question and it writes code, a lot of code, and suddenly you're in a big mess, a lot of technical debt. You have no clue how to get out of it. You ask it the question, hey, can you create me a new login view? It's easy. You have my application. My coding assistant will help me, and then it writes code. Great, it uses block. I don't use block. We use stacked. It's not in my code base. We use MVVM. Please use it. It's a lot of crap. They got a lot better at that. They'll check what you have, but still, often you get wrong patterns inside your code base. It goes through a very long session. It generates code. It generates and suddenly says, "Oh, I don't need this anymore. I just don't reference it anymore." It just stays in your code base. You have methods that are no longer used. It likes to return widgets a lot of the time with build methods. You get some magic values somewhere. I rather have my translations somewhere, not directly in my code base. But it just says code generated successfully. Here you go. You have login view. It runs. You look at it. Oh, it works. Of course, good developers as we are, we create a PR. You don't have warnings or anything enabled, and you just say, "Oh, the code looks good. I think it's fine." You miss stuff, and you just merge it away. And glad as we are, your technical depth went up again, and yeah, just your chaos will win in the end. It starts with a lot of small things, but it will just add up very quickly. And the problem with AI is that it goes very, very, very quickly if you don't put your guardrails up. Because yeah, it's very easy to miss stuff even in code reviews. So in my opinion, where do you need to start before even using AI? Step 1 is define what your application architecture is. For me, there's no right architecture. It is just at least have one, have an idea on how your team works, what works for you, have a way of enforcing it. It's great to have documentation, but if you can enforce it in code, if it's visible in code, it makes it a lot easier to enforce. You don't forget it. It's not some afterthought during code review. Hey, this is bad, but yeah, this feature needs to go to production, so just merge it anyway because everything needs to go fast. For us, it's some naming conventions like we have P0, P1, P2 because we have different layers, but it makes it visible. Things are structured in a specific pattern. so it's easy to notice. We also switched from a folder structure to having projects, just because we can enforce it with your pub/spec and YAMLs what the dependencies are, so things cannot be imported or moved to the wrong project and suddenly have dependencies it shouldn't have. And it's actually just make it as simple as possible. How does it look for us? We have a layered architecture, or a derivative of clean architecture, where we just have different layers, where we have a specific flow. We never skip layers. It's numbered. Each layer is a project. Where we have a presentation layer and the UI, application layer, data layers, domain layer, and a lot of shared foundations. What they exactly are isn't that important. In the UI layer, we have our MVVM, we use stacked. It's just our presentation logic, where our view is purely UI. It delegates to the view model and delegates back to the view model service for more the creating of your objects. In the second part, we have our application layer, which more orchestrates things like, fetch data from your API, store it in your persistence, cache the data. We also block it that we never throw exceptions past the application layer. We work with response objects, so we know when we get a response back that either you need to handle the success state and the failed state, just to make it easier and not have try catches everywhere. But that's just what works for us. The data layers, we have rules. DTOs never leave the data layer because we used to have, we had that in a very distant past, and it just creates problems. We also always map to a domain layer. It makes it quite easy. You know where your bugs are if you need to find some things. Same with persistence, similar pattern. In our domain layer, it's purely Dart. It's mapping of some things, domain-specific validation and calculations. And then as a last part, we have some shared foundations where our dependency injection lives, our translations design system. These layers do not have dependencies on other layers, so it really goes P0 has no dependencies on other projects, P1, P2, P3. The data flows down. You can have a completely different architecture. This will work as well for everyone. It just, we have a very clear understanding with everyone how it works, and makes it quite easy for you. This is a bit of an overview on how the data flow goes, where user taps on a button, the command goes via the view model to the view model service. This delegates the action to the application service, which says, oh, I need to do an API call. I'll do the API call. Goes to the API layer. The API layer gets a DTO back once it does an API call, maps it to the domain layer. The response comes back through the application layer. This is then communicated to the view model service, which updates the state, and this updates our view in the end. Nothing more than that. So as our first foundation, it just have your architecture. There comes the second part. You also have more than that, have coding guidelines. For us, it's just nitpicking, picking a few things that are there. It's like naming conventions. For us, an interface starts with an I, enum starts with E, DTOs end with DTO, entities end with entity, which makes it very easy for us in code review to know intent and if you use it, to work with it. Complexity limits, we have a certain amount of lines. We allow for a function maximum amount of nested ifs. If there needs to be a new white line before return or not, it just creates consistency throughout our code base, which you get trained in it, and it makes it easier to spot, oh, there's something wrong there. Completeness, we enforce that switch statements handle all cases, just so you know if you add a new case, your compiler will complain, and then you'll never have bugs because you forgot it at some point. Error handling, as I said before, our application never throws exceptions and works with a response pattern. Having all these rules there makes it quite obvious when you go out of bounds in the code, and we also enforce it using linters, so it's easier for everyone to maintain, and your code review goes a lot faster then. We had some common violations in the past, having the layer skipping. That's why we introduced the projects, so we can enforce it. You cannot import things that you cannot see. We work with barrel files, so we also have things with if you import things directly from the source, you get exceptions there. The exception handling, same thing. We learned it along the way. Now everyone just does it, so it's never an issue anymore. Naming conventions, it's created a lot more consistency having them enforced. Reactive values, it just everyone learning also the patterns that are there. Then those first two things are very nice and very easy to have. You agree upon how does our application look like, and then it starts, I want to create a new project. What now? There are different ways to do it. You can have a repository which you clone every time and change the names. If it works for you, it's nice. Just make it yourself as easy as possible. If you want to enforce an architecture and want to enforce coding guidelines, have a way to have a quick setup that you don't have to copy paste everything manually because you'll forget things. For us, we use Mason for that. We use Mason for our Flutter setup, where we have more complex things like we run Flutter create beforehand to create all the different projects. Then we copy paste, let it copy paste in our template, and then finally it will start adding all the dependencies also via command line, just so we also always have the latest versions. Sometimes this creates dependency hell. Most of the times it goes well. We do not only use this for our Flutter setup, we also use this for common patterns we have. If you need to have the same boilerplate code every time, you can choose to go to a build runner for code generation. But for example, for us, Mason works very well. Our view needs to be at a certain position in a certain directory, or view model at another position, other directory. There's an interface, there's the view model service. It's the same boilerplate code every time. It's a lot of code. If I need to create a new view by copy pasting it, it takes like 5 or 10 minutes. If I do it this way, it takes 10, 15 seconds. Mason make, view model, and done. Same for services, same for, we have models for example, because our DTOs are mapped to the main models, most of the time they are the same. So make it easy for you and just let it automatically create everything from us, from the backend, from the server pod, completely until the front end. We have an easy way to create mappers and everything like that, just using Mason. Just create no AI there, just boilerplate code that's automatically generated. How does it look like? Here, Mason make view model. I give in a few parameters, and done. Of course, it went faster than it goes in real life, but that's about it. It makes your life a lot easier. Next step, the static code analysis. Use your linters. We use the standard Flutter analyze, but we also use custom lint. For us, there's things like we enforce the maximum amount of lines per file, just because we know if you go over that, probably you're doing too much. You can ignore it if it needs to be there, but then at least it's your active decision to do it, that we do not have 3,000 lines of code in a file. Same for functions. We play around with it a little bit, but that's what works for us. The exact rules is also just depending on what your coding guidelines are, but it makes your life a lot easier. We go for 0 warnings. If there's a warning, the CI will pick it up and the CI will say, no, the build doesn't go through. And it just prevents bad code or code we deem to be bad to be merged in. And will also help you later on. If your AI generates code, it's never going to be merged in because the CI will block it off. Just the first 15 lines of our custom of our rules. Unit tests, same. If they're there, you can at least prevent refactoring from breaking things. And if AI likes to refactor a lot of things, at least you can run it beforehand. You can tell the AI to run it beforehand, but it will make your life easier instead of harder. As we went before that, for us, we use Bitbucket. We have specific rules where we require an amount of succeeded builds. Succeeded builds contain the unit tests and contain the linter rules that they are checked. So if those do not pass, you cannot merge it. Same, someone needs to review your code. Doesn't matter if you change 1 line of code. Doesn't matter. Someone needs to accept it, else it's not merged. It's easy to think, oh, I just bypassed this and I merge it, and then oh, suddenly your if check of 1 line breaks your complete production application, and no one ever tested it. And the same goes even if it's human or AI, same rules. And the last part before really stepping over to the AI part is having documentation. And with all the previous things, we have things on Confluence or your wiki, or if you do it in Notion, doesn't matter. But if your AI does not have access to your documentation, yeah, it can never use it, and it will do what it thinks is best, and that's the crap it's trained on. So that's not always good. For us, we have 3 tiers. We have certain golden rules who it can never. They're always on. In this case, it's for Windsurf. But it's things it really should know. We have our layered structure, or things it does wrong constantly. For example, we used stacked. It kept on using the old version of stacked. Just tell it, ensure that it's a limited set, but it's always on. Then we have 2nd tier, where there's a lot more documentation, where it's I don't know how many lines of code. Documentation it is, but a few thousand for different layers, how every layer works, how our unit tests are written, how where your design system is, examples and everything like that. But they are all structured for us in different markdown files, which are referenced starting from the tier 1. So it only reads it when it needs it. And the last part is the workflows. Those are your agents or your commands or skills, depending on what framework you're using, which I will go over in a little bit. But those are also quite important to make your life a lot easier. Each tier just builds upon the previous one. You have references to everything, so it knows what to use and does not need to find it throughout your code base without a reference. And yeah, the AI reads it, so also prevents it, because if you need to correct it afterwards, if it went down in a rabbit hole, just revert. It's difficult to, if it goes very badly, to get it out, because your context is bad at that point, and will still make the same mistakes over and over again. Also, concrete examples work a lot better than telling it, oh, please do not do this. If you show it some things, it's a lot better, and trying to explain it. The golden rules. I think I need to zoom in a bit. For example, the layering I talked about, application that never throws exceptions. Just a few basic important concepts that are important for us. In the 2nd tier, where our reactive value needs to live, most of the time it gets it right, so I don't care. it's in a lower tier. The workflows, it just, these are very syntax, but it's just a step-by-step plan, as in you'll need to understand the requirements, explore the code base, design the plan, and then create an implementation plan. It goes a lot deeper than that, but it makes it more structured in the way it goes. It will become more clear in the next slides, because that's what this is about. The AI agents or the workflows. For us, I think for me the biggest leap in our code quality that's generated if you go to the agentic way of working, because if you work within the context of one file, it's fine, it doesn't hallucinate that much. But if you start, hey, implement me this feature, or even if it's a smaller part of the feature, it can go bad very quickly. It starts going one way, and then suddenly it starts duplicating code everywhere, and it just revert everything, and I'll write it myself. Introducing the concept of specific agents for specific tasks increase the code quality a lot. It just makes them more specialized. The first version I made were just 10 lines of me telling it, hey, you're an architect, create a plan. The coder, hey, implement the plan. And even that already jumped up quite a lot. Now they're a lot more complex. The first part is the architect. It's actually just reading the user story or reading your request and start planning. Try to understand it. Try to know which layers in our code base need to be affected, what files need to be read, and I'll document everything in PlanMD or document them just in a file and create a step-by-step task list, which we can mark off later if things are done. This makes it easy for you to review what's the plan even before it starts coding. And then you introduce the coding agent, and that's just, hey, read this plan someone else created, and mark if you've done a step, stop. Then I can review everything, and also mark this step as done. Check the definition of done, check the acceptance criteria, check if it run the build runner, everything that it needs to do, and you then can continue. Those things are actually the main part of writing your code. I had some issues with the unit tests, so I created a different agent for that. It makes it a lot easier just to have it one task. Hey, check this file or check the last commit and create extra unit tests for this, or this failed, create something for that. We do it this way, we use mocktail, or these are dependency injections, so things that it fails on makes it easier to have a specific task. We create a reviewer agent. Hey, nice, that code's written. It works for our own code. It works for other code, where we can focus more on what are our coding guidelines, where are they, review the different things. I gave it a limit of 15 comments tops, because normally that should be more than enough, and give it priorities, things that are critical or not, and it spots mistakes I would have never seen. Things like you copy two objects to each other and you missed one of the properties. I would never see that in a code review, and it makes it also very easy for you. You can let your coder agent, once it's done, as a definition of done is the reviewer should approve your code. It should say it's okay to merge, else just continue or create a new plan, whatever you like. We also have some constraints. Our architect can't code. It can write a markdown file and that's it. Our coder can't skip steps. If it doesn't understand, it needs to stop and ask clarification. and just gives you a bit of discipline for your AI. How does the workflow look like? I think I talked about everything. You have your architect who reads the user story, creates the plan MD, the coder reads the plan MD and implements step 1. You, as a developer, still review the code, and you also review the plan MD and just say, okay, you can continue or not, or you adjust some things. You write your tests. You can, before even I let my code review by Brent or something like that, I let my AI reviewer already fix a lot of things for me because it will create a very, your flow will be a lot faster. And we no longer have runaway code generation. Also, these workflows use everything we built from step 1 to step 7. It reads out our warnings. There should be no warnings, so it prevents it from keeping on building on bad code. This is an example of how it runs. /architect, I gave it some database exception. I trusted enough to say run the code workflow directly afterwards. It just grabs from my code base and looks like, oh, I know that database who had an issue. It creates a complete plan. It creates different tasks that need to complete, and the coder workflow does that for you to fix, in this case, the deduplication logic. So yeah, the AI code reviewer, I already talked about this. It does what it does. It reviews your code from critical to suggestion. You can improve your AI by doing a lot of things. We build a lot of tooling beforehand, or for example, we created all the Mason templates. It would be nice that our AI just can use it instead of trying to create a view by itself. It's not allowed. It cannot do it. I gave it access to our Mason using an MCP server I built using Dart, which I had a talk about last time or the time before that. It's quite easy. It just accesses our CLI tooling and runs it, but it prevents it from writing bad code for us. It just makes it easier that you provided the tooling you created. That it also has this. Also, you can give access to Dart. If you use the latest Dart version, you can add Dart as the MCP server, so it can read out everything from your analyzer as well and run your tests, as it makes your life a lot easier. Of course, improve. If it goes bad, learn from it. Don't only fix the issue at that point, but also try to find what the cause was and let the AI itself update the documentation, just that you prevent it in the future. If you can add it to your linter rules or something like that, even better. But most of the time, don't forget that you can use your AI to update your AI to make your life a lot easier. The recap, we have a foundation which you need to build. No matter if you use AI or not, it's ensured that you know how you want to build stuff. Make it easy to scaffold things. Build your quality gates where you have your pull requests, your static code analysis, your unit tests. And if you want to integrate your AI, ensure that your AI has the right documentation and the right tooling to be able to work as a developer that works in your team. Your team has those tools, ensure that it has it as well, so it can make your life a lot easier. The key takeaways, I mentioned every one of them, of course. Just structure that enforces your architecture helps you a lot of things. Automated quality gates, document also for your AI. And if you can create a guardrail for your AI that it cannot bypass, like the code cannot be merged if it doesn't pass your tests, then it makes your life a lot easier. Yeah, thank you. That's about everything. Any questions, anyone, or?
Thank you. Well, my question depends. Are you using Cloud Code for this?
I'm not using Cloud Code for this, but in the end, it shouldn't matter.
It shouldn't. Okay. Well, my question is: are you using? Is the architect and the coder and the tester all running at the same time, or are you using them sequentially?
I'm using them sequentially at this point. Okay. So I'm running them in this case, I'm talking about workflows because I used Windsurf for things like open code. I think it's commands, and the thing it actually just does is it's just a standard system prompt you give with it, where you specify this is your role, this is what you need to do, and it's just your standard. You only need to write it once, and then you just can access it via, in this case, /architect. But I can assume that Cloud Code has the exact same thing. I think it's probably a command or something like that, but it works the same way. And you can always, if you want, start with where you just really write 10 lines of like, you're a Flutter expert and I want you to try to understand my requirements, try to find what files need to be added to the context, and create a step-by-step plan that a coding agent or another developer needs to do to implement everything. And later on, you can just tell your AI, oh, read now this command, improve it with my code base, add things that it really needs to know, and then suddenly you get a lot better prompt, but the core is very simple. Yeah. Each has its specific task, and that works quite well for me at least.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Very nice talk, indeed. One of the questions that I have that I'm currently also struggling with is cloud agents, so not cloud, but cloud. So you're running everything on your local machine,
yeah.
Right? Are you also using something for review pull requests?
Not yet. That's something that I really would love to have, that if a pull request is created, that automatically the code review is already done, that it can check on security requirements, that it can, or coding guidelines and everything like that, and that even before, that it's not the developer itself that needs to run it every time, or it can, because it can forget, we can forget it, but not yet.
I've been using Copilot on GitHub for 1.5 years already, I think. But because you can't really specify your own rules on every specific repository, I'm currently switching to just my own GitHub action that just does the entire review process itself.
Or you then just access the
API, the API or a Mac Mini that is hosted somewhere that has access to the code and then runs the coding agent itself. But the most difficult or the most important part for the review process itself is having a separate agent look at it again and going through your entire changes. Because I've seen multiple times that it triggers some remarks, then you run it again, and then some other remarks are also popping up. So I think going over it in some kind of loop is really beneficial.
Yeah, I also, when I trigger the reviewer myself, I also switch out context windows. I also never allow it to be run at by the same agent or the same memory as the code was written, because it will have the same ID. But indeed.
Which models are you currently using? Or?
The one that we used the most until now was Claude. I think,
and which specific, are you using Opus or Sonnet?
The Sonnet.
Okay.
Opus I only used for if I want to write a lot of big documentation, then we switched to Opus. But we also had good things with Gemini. I tested the GPTs, but I really didn't like. At least at the point that they were released, it was horrible. It took way too long. It took like 18 minutes to write 3 lines, so I stopped using that.
Yeah. So for Opus, I'm actually building all the features currently just on Opus because it's way better than Sonnet, because it's also a lot more expensive. So that's why just having proper PRDs or plan MD files are really important to plan out the entire feature before you actually start building, because it really impacts your entire token usage that you have in the end.
And then you start using...
So I start iterating on the actual feature that needs to be implemented, first from the specs that are written by the product owner. Also by an LLM. And then it generates a PRD JSON file, which then has already access to the correct files, or just lists the files that needs to update. Also some requirements, some steps, some stuff that it needs to know. And because it's a JSON, I also feel that the token usage is also less, because it's easier to read, I would say. And then, just going over the entire process in some kind of loop makes it also easier for your context window to not be super big expanded. And also, again, then limits your token usage. So I think for me personally, just using the best model on all the coding tasks that you're doing is way better for the output that you need. So maybe a good discussion that we could have is also on when should you use actually other models that are not so expensive, but will give you in the end a better overall implemented feature. So I think that's something. Maybe we should also set up a separate Slack channel for that as well, to maybe discuss that even further. Okay, because personally I'm also looking at just moving everything out of my own local environment, so I can just put an issue on Notion or on Jira, and then just say, okay, move this to ready for coding agent, and then it's automatically picked up.
I created a pull request, a GitHub issue with Serverpod a few weeks ago, and it was like, oh, okay, ready for the bot.
Indeed. So
it's merged away.
Personally, I don't think I'm coding in the next 6 or 10 months. I don't think I'm coding anymore. But we'll see about that. Maybe we can do a poll later tonight to see if I'm wrong or not. But I'm really excited about the current ways that things are going.
It's going a lot better than what it used to be.
Indeed. Sorry about my monologue, maybe, but also always important to share thoughts.
So first of all, thanks for the talk. I think it's an amazing end result, but I wonder what was your process to get to this, because I don't think it all happened all at once, but there were probably certain steps that you started to explore in maybe existing code bases, and what would you recommend to get started towards this?
The thing is that this complete process is actually our process of how our team became a mature team in general without AI. It's having your rules and having everything set up so you have a coding standard. And I don't, if I say I don't believe there's a correct architecture, I do not believe that there's correct architecture. The thing I believe is have a consistent way of working, and you can improve on that. You have things that work for your team or things that do not work for your team. For us, we come from most of us came from Xamarin background, so it's tinted how we created our architecture, because we can use our developers between 2 tech stacks. But if you come from React Native part, you'll have a different way of thinking, for example. for me, the most important part is the architecture and the coding guidelines. And then we just ran in things like, I just want to stop copy pasting things from one project to another project, make my life easier. We used to have that we had a repo that we cloned. It didn't work for us. We tested it using Mason, and for us, we invested some time in that just to make it easier. And then it was like, but we can make quick wins with creating small tools that fix a problem for you. Especially now you can vibe code things. At some point I want to have a UML scheme of our project, or because that was a time when the AI wasn't integrated in your IDE. But I want to make easy to communicate complete difficult flows. So I vibe coded a static code analysis tool that created a UML scheme for that. It's horrible code, at least it worked. But you can just quickly create tools to make your life easier. Actually, the creation of the agents was for me an idea I had while I was gaming. I was like, oh, I think I need to do this. I'm just gonna try it, and every time I had to wait for like a few minutes, I wrote the 10 lines I needed for my few agents, and I was like, okay, let's test it on some stupid feature. And it was amazing how quickly it works, and you try to solve small things just step by step. It's, for me, actually, the biggest one is the AI agents. It's having your plans written down in some file which can just be checked off makes a lot of big difference. And it ensures, also ensure that your team is mature enough to understand what comes out of it. Review the code, because it will go wrong at some point.
Maybe a question, how do you share the agents actually with your team?
Currently it's just in the repository.
Okay.
It's
and everybody do a git pull every morning?
No, currently it's in the repository of that project.
Ah, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But we're planning, because it was very in a test phase, but we're still looking on how we're going to move that between different teams. In the complete company, it's done in a different manner, where there's also a repo which allows you to update prompt thingy, where you can share things with each other. But it doesn't change that often, actually. So.
Okay. Yeah. But I guess you fine-tune the agents every day, you know?
No.
No. Okay.
I worked with the 10 lines. I worked with it like that for like 1.5 months, and they were horrible. And then at some point I said, okay, I'm going to invest an hour or two to make them better.
So normally when your architecture is so well defined, your architecture doesn't change that often as well. So
no, indeed. Yeah, but I was thinking, like, every time you ask something and you're not happy with it.
But actually, I'm happy most of the. At this point, I'm really. I think I hardly ever do git revert anymore. And yeah, you learn. It's all with all the things is use it. The more you use it, the more you get used to asking the questions. As in.
Yeah, indeed.
You just.
That's true.
Yeah,
When you see it goes horribly wrong, then you know it because
you ask the wrong things.
What I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's.
I think there was a question on the live stream. It's already answered. Okay.
I don't know if you can answer, or maybe somebody else, but you work for this group, yes?
Yeah.
Do you have clients that will tell you, I want you to do my project, but don't use AI? Or because they don't feel confident that, because the AI that you're using is on the cloud, then they don't feel confident about you using that AI for their code?
Yes, that will be the case. A client can say, no, I don't want you to use it, or I don't want to use this AI. And I think that's a valid point of the client, and the client will then also have to pay for the difference in velocity. Yeah. But I think that should always be a valid point, that your client can tell, I do not trust it, I don't want my intellectual property to be shared. And then if you are convinced that it's for their best interest, then you'll need to prove that it's secure, that you use not the public, that it's limited for an enterprise edition, where you can say, oh, it's not trained upon it, or your data doesn't go to America, or things like that.
Right. Yeah. But so in that case, are any of your companies or your company, because they probably have the resources, exploring in-house LLMs that are just privately?
I don't think we currently have it. I have no clue about our complete. We have an AI, a team that specializes in AI for customers. We have also a team that focuses on enabling AI within our company, but the complete development of that, I do not have a view on that.
I'm exploring that with Olama and hosting the LLM on Lapini, just to, because I do so much open source stuff, if a lot of tickets or features I want to implement, if I always do that on a paid plan, it becomes super expensive. While if I can just run it 24/7 on a Lapini, on an open model, it's apart from the cost of the electricity, it's basically free. But the models are not yet that good as Opus or as Sonnet, for example. But they are coming closer and closer to these models. But you also need 30 or 17 or 30 gigabytes of RAM, which at this point is currently really expensive, especially on a mini even. So, but it is possible, and you can also just add it to cloud, for example. It's just a proxy server that you need to configure, and then it connects to your Olama instance locally, just at home. And then all your data is just also not shared. It's perfect to be used for clients who don't want to trust it with a Gemini or something else.
Yeah, because the process is beautiful. I love it, but if you can sell the whole package or for customers like that, I guess we have to wait, like you said, maybe a couple more years for the LLMs to catch up. And
well, maybe not a couple of years, a couple months, I think.
Yeah.
All right, I think very interesting discussion. We'll create a Slack channel as well to keep some stuff there. I think everyone can benefit from your second sticker.
Yes. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I opened the raffle, so we can now